To finish up, let's talk about how OnlyFans has deadly consequences. I don't know if you're where you sit on the sexual liberation movement, but I don't think it's been particularly successful for society. It hasn't done men and women any good, really, besides the occasional one-night stand, which leaves you pretty unsatisfied in the morning. One of our writers, former host, doesn't think so either. In the first Deepthink, he discusses in this article for lotuseaters.com, if you sign up, you can listen to the audio track as well, why feminists refuse to talk about OnlyFans because it's basically an instrument of male immiseration. It's conquering a lot of really weak incel-type men and making them live a subservient and servile existence. And while obviously the incels need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, go to the gym and grow up a little bit. Exactly. Good man. Fantastic. Some of you cannot crawl out from under this very addictive rock that's, pornography is actually used as a weapon of war, and so he believes that the feminists won't talk about how it harms women and men because it's achieving their goal of immiserating men. So go and read that on the website if you fancy it. But OnlyFans is doing indelible damage, not just to women, and not just to men, but to women as well. And this is across social media. So I thought we'd take a look at this brief TikTok trend here. Addicted to being sad, teenage girls have invisible illnesses and call themselves Spoonies and post TikToks of themselves crying in hospital to generate thousands of likes and sympathy. But a bunch of industry experts have said, well, this is going to create a wave of mass anxiety and hypochondria because women are going to start self-diagnosing. So
how comes they can self-diagnose as Spoonies, but and we say no, that's ridiculous, but then they can self-diagnose as being a dude, and we're like, oh well, let's give you a hysterectomy. You're what, 14? What's the difference?
Given we're on YouTube, we must say, of course, that we will defer to medical advice to doctors, but not much. A new TikTok trend sees girls claiming to have invisible illnesses like MS, Crohn's disease, polycystic ovary syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, endometriosis, and postural orthostatic syndrome. That is a minefield. I would suggest they just have a terminal case of female attention deficit disorder, or FAD for short. But loads of the other ones just say, we've been dismissed by doctors, but I know I'm ill, they just won't diagnose me. They call themselves Spoonies. They're often encouraging each other to lie to doctors to get the diagnosis they want. Others join groups to discuss the negative side effects to their conditions and often competing with each other to see who is sickest. They post videos of themselves crying or lying listless in hospital beds and rack up hundreds of thousands of likes in some cases, with other comments supporting spoon theory. Now, I'd never heard of this before, had you? Spoon theory?
I'd never heard of it until...
So it's basically total BS. A blogger had coined the term spoonie in 2003 and claimed that the spoon equates to energy. Healthy people have unlimited spoons, while sick people, spoonies, have only a few and have to be strategic about how they use their spoons doing everyday tasks.
Is that the bottom of the article? Just scroll
I believe
down.
There's some images here.
Yeah, I want to see the images. I want to show, and then I want you to scroll all the way up. Just scroll all the way down, just so I can just see all the images.
Yeah,
keep on scrolling.
I'll just keep reading.
Just keep on scrolling. Oh, you're reading it.
That's fine. No, I'll just keep reading so you can have a look at the actual horror show on here. Others apparently suffer from functional disorders, which don't have any physical cause or can be medically diagnosed. But many of the women have complained about being ignored or misdiagnosed by doctors and share their rawest moments as others give an insight as what life is like with their diseases. Experts say, while functional disease is a real and chronic problem, it is not often one the teens think they have. A doctor said, a neurologist at Rush University said, it's generated by anxiety in most cases, or another comorbidity, and then propagated by TikTok. Others claim they're suffering from medical gaslighting, and including being told by your doctor to lose weight to help your condition. So basically, it's just a bunch of fat, attention-seeking women online that claim to have illnesses.
Not even that. If you scroll all the way up, it's
John.
John,
Yes.
Scroll all the way to the top and then just scroll down slowly. Right? Look at this. Scroll down slowly at all the pictures. Look at there. So go scroll down just so we can see it, so the viewers. Okay, we see her. Go, keep on going. Just I just want to see them all. We see her. Go on, keep on going. We see her. Keep on going. We see this. Keep on going. What are they all got in common? What have they all got in common? They're all white women,
True.
right? They're all white women, and what happened is life is so good, right, that they need to be a victim. They know being a victim gives them power and responsibility. Yep. So they're making up things. Like, look at them. Yep. Look, you can see they're making up these things, and people now, victim culture is such a big thing that everyone's like that. But they're all. Why is it all this very niche, certain demographic of person doing this? Just seems to me that it's like a. Well, I mean, they've already existed. Like it's Spoonies, it's fake, but it's because being a victim now is such a. There's so much collateral that you can use. You can for social, like for likes. With our society is backwards. Like,
That's exactly what Bill Burr said. It's like, I can't take white women's claims of oppression seriously because for all of history you were in the hot tub with me.
Yeah.
And now you climb over the fence, join the picket line and say, we're oppressed too. It's like, shut up, you've enjoyed the benefits.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of benefits that only women can incur, I'm certain the slip and slide of that will leave straight from TikTok to OnlyFans. We'll leave plenty of them, starved of attention, and start getting more assets out in front of the camera. But that's only if the healthcare providers don't quit for OnlyFans too. There are some images in here, John, which I'm not sure if we can show, but be tentative. A growing number of NHS and social care staff are quitting their jobs and becoming OnlyFans stars because of the cost of living crisis, charities claim. They're swapping tireless and poorly paid roles in frontline health and care for the adult site, where some make up to £50,000 a month. Stop paying them if you have a subscription. Unions have warned staff that they're leaving in droves for better paid, less stressful jobs, with record inflation making this year's 4% pay rise a massive pay cut. The English Collective of Prostitutes, which I'm glad they're finally admitting that's a digital red light district, said as nearly 80% of NHS staff are women, and wages are now lower than they were in 2010, it isn't surprising that a growing number of NHS staff are turning to sex work for supplemental wages. So, that's great. It's going to do fantastic wonders for an already ailing healthcare system, isn't it? It's not just the nurses as well. If we go to the next one, the BBC, people using OnlyFans as a second job to help pay with bills. So they're lamenting that the cost of living crisis is driving more and more people into prostitution. Again, the English Collective of Prostitutes told Radio 1 Newsweek they received more calls about young women joining OnlyFans because of the rising cost of living. The campaign group is warning people who post sexually explicit content that they could be opening themselves up to long hours, a risk of abuse and even stalking. Oh, sounds totally ideal. No risks there at all. Sex work is real work. They said calls to their helpline from people telling them they're doing sex work for increases of cost of living costs have went up by a third in June. Laura Watson from the group says they've not only been contacted by women of all ages asking for help on how to set themselves up on sites like OnlyFans. So there seems to be a massive epidemic of women going, oh, I'm a little bit broke and my job isn't paying enough. I know, let's sell my soul.
But what I want to know is, where is the Welsh Collective of Prostitutes on this matter? What do they have to say?
Yeah, the devolved parliament
I want to know what
version of whores.
The Scottish Collective of Prostitutes have to say on this very important matter.
I imagine there's a lot of members in Scotland.
Well,
there we go.
My wife's Scottish, so I'll say no more. But it's
I don't imagine there's one in Iran, is there?
The Iranian Collective. You know, apparently in Iran, like, if you're away from the thing, it's pretty cool. Like, people drinking, they're having a good time. As long as you don't shake the boat politically or bring up, it's quite cool. I mean, if you start shaking the boat...
I wouldn't want to risk it, yeah.
No, apparently it's a real... There's a lot of young people in Iran. Like, there's a young population who actually want a lot of freedom, very welcoming people. They want to... It's the same with everywhere. It's the governments aren't the people. Like, do you know what I mean? So, Iran as a country is a great country, but you know, we've got some crazy ayatollahs in, but it gives us flavour. So
you heard it from Darius. There's a massive market for OnlyFans in Iran, so just hop a jet and cost of living won't be a problem.
Yeah.
So if we go to Sky News, speaking about the stalking cases, I thought I'd read out a couple. Nikki McNeil is a women's support worker for Beyond the Streets, a Southampton and London-based charity that helps people find routes out of the sex industry. She said her colleagues have also seen a rise in calls in women selling survival sex. We call it that because it's the only choice women can make to survive. Don't know if that's true. It's done to meet basic needs, to have enough money for food and rent. Another way women are carrying out sex work to pay their bills online is through OnlyFans. But while some in the industry have touted it as a safer, more empowering option to traditional work, the ECP warns it can put women at risk of stalking and blackmail. Ms. Adams said, "We're working with a woman at the moment in her early 20s in Kent," probably went to my university. She had a job in retail and moved out of her parents' home, but when the crisis hit, she couldn't cover her bills. She set up an OnlyFans and had been working for a few months, building up a profile for herself, but then got targeted by a guy who started harassing her. He managed to find her private Facebook page and became a very serious stalker. So even if you take it offline, the feminists say it's all empowering, it's very safe, sex work is real work, you're still opening yourself up to predatory men. And congratulations, when you make a market off of punters who basically don't care whether or not the material they're viewing is consensual, you might have a few predators lurking in there, so it might not be the best industry to go into. So OnlyFans is an open criminal enterprise. If we can go to the next one, John. I'll presage this with an OnlyFans creator said her Instagram was deleted for no reason, and then she went to a Meta employee and started shagging them in order to get her account reopened. So,
Yeah, man, I should get a job at Facebook.
I mean, she's not bad looking, let's put it that way, but not a lot of dignity, not exactly wife material, is she? But why was the reason that her account was closed, do you think?
On Facebook, so that she couldn't...
On Instagram.
On Instagram, so she couldn't diversify her profile.
It's almost like you got it spot on, yeah. So if we go to the next one, OnlyFans actually bribed Meta to put porn stars on terrorist watch lists
Wow.
to try and prevent them from having profiles on other sites, so they would only have a monopoly on where they could sell their services.
Wow, there.
So there are actual OnlyFans stars, I suppose you could call them, being listed as jihadists.
This is some bomb.
So the alleged move means models in pictures of bikinis on social media would have been flagged as jihadist propaganda against different platforms. So apparently the OnlyFans owner, Leonid Radovinsky, bribed Twitter and Meta to ban these fantastic-looking, upstanding members of society from their platforms. In all, lawyers claim they have a list of 21,000 Instagram accounts that have been unfairly branded as potential terrorists. Adult film actress Alana Evans, one of the plaintiffs, claimed in the lawsuit she had been slapped on the watch list. She was among those whose account was placed in a database run by the Global Internet Forum to Counter Terrorism. She told the New York Post, "When I heard my content may be listed on the terror watch list, I was outraged. I was angry because it had affected my income, my social media traffic dropped significantly, and I was angry because I'm the daughter of a veteran who fought for this country." I'm sure he's fantastically proud to have safeguarded your freedom. Given that they're a criminal enterprise, I like to use Chris Williamson's quote here, who was on the podcast on Monday. When he spoke to Louise Perry, he called the OnlyFans the cartel of sexual self-capitalization. But given a recent BBC documentary has actually shown that cases of children on OnlyFans that had been reported missing, like 14 years old, were showing up, and that's how their parents had found them. And now they're intimidating terrorist watch lists and social media giants to take down creators to claim a monopoly over their prostitution ring. I think we can just say they are just a cartel at this point. They're just totally indifferent. OnlyFans itself, also, their creators, are just as murderous as the mafia. So we have an example from Australia. An OnlyFans foot fetish model has been accused of walking into a Woolworths and stabbing a worker in the back. No reason, didn't know the woman. Cassandra Hickling, 35, went to Woolworths supermarket and stabbed Donna Marie Grocott, 44, in the back as she stocked the shelves in the pet food aisle in Perth. The court heard of women did not know each other and described the incident as an alleged random attack. The defence lawyer told the court a psychiatrist has met with Hickling in the hospital where she was detained, but requested further mental health assessments be conducted with the court's permission. So an obviously sane person. So
That's not our Woolworths, by the way. That's like
No.
Tesco's. That's
the one with
that's.
the pick and
But
mix.
there was no reason. She just randomly stabbed that woman. Maybe she had nicer feet or something. Just like, I don't
typical
like
female jealousy. Yeah,
I'm not having that.
But I
She's
think
got smaller feet.
this illustrates a point of that you never know who you're buying from if you're a pornography purveyor, and these people are clearly quite deeply psychologically broken if they don't have some sort of emotional attachment to the intimacy you should be keeping private for a beloved partner. And unfortunately, this is not irregular of the kinds of people that have been involved in prostitution, into pornography, and now into OnlyFans, which has democratized the means of sexual distribution so that lots of women are just doing homegrown porn.
I only like ethical porn.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I mean, listen, I think everyone knows that porn is bad.
Yes.
It's porn. It's
Yes.
bad.
Yeah. There are no
Yeah.
positive arguments for
Yeah.
it. It's just addiction management.
You're gonna watch it, but that's why when you finish,
You
you
shouldn't.
feel bad. Yeah, well, you shouldn't, but we're not all priests, so the reality is it's out there. But obviously, porn is bad, and what is worse about OnlyFans, right? Like, there used to be a stigma. Did porn? It's kind of shame.
Yep.
You know, the community. Now it's celebrated.
Yes.
She's the OnlyFans, but it's like.
As a means of liberation.
Yeah, but like we've lost our sense of shame in our culture about what's right and what's wrong. So
That was the millennial idea of don't judge me. Well, it's just completely removed any moral language from our everyday use. And it's meant that people are feeling very nihilistic. They don't have any direction. And so they now make these kinds of mistakes, many people. And those images are going to be up forever.
They'll regret that
around.
10 years, years down the line when they've got kids, when they're trying to start a family, and then your son pulls this up at school with his mates.
Yeah.
It's gonna come back and hurt people. But I mean, I don't know. It's an easy way. They always talk about the reality is, they always say, oh, they earn 50 grand a month, they earn this. But the reality is, most of these girls are doing this. They're earning nothing.
Yeah.
They're kind of humiliating themselves, realizing they've done this. They kind of did feel pestered, like, oh, you should do it. Go on, this. You go, girl. You go and do this. Yeah. They've put this out there. They're going for a range of toys before they've run out, but they put this out there, right? And then they're earning like £10 a month. It's like, you're selling yourself for like £10.
Your anus is on the internet for the price of
what can can't I say? Am I allowed to say your anus is on the internet?
You can say something like that as a medical term, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your vibrator.
I wouldn't go through listing all their dishwasher safe boyfriends. Let's put it that way. But
fair enough.
Yeah.
I've been trying to be PC with my language.
Yes. Yeah.
But most of them are selling them out, and they will deeply regret that. I mean, to be fair, if you're earning 50 grand a month, that softens the blow of perhaps being considered a whore, right? It's like, but I've got 50 grand a month, right? But
I wouldn't put a price on propriety.
I would 50 grand, right? But £150, that's not worth it. You know what I mean? And that's what the average, I think, is the average income.
There's a Pareto distribution of who is actually successful on the site.
Yeah.
But in every case, you're still selling a part of yourself, and it's degrading.
In some ways, the argument they'd put forward is whatever you do, you're selling yourself. Unless you have your own business, you start something yourself, you build it up. If you work for someone else, you're just selling your time and labor. But I do it. Listen, on a moral level, I agree with you.
Yeah. So if we can go to the next one, if you'd like more coverage of most of the OnlyFans women being murdered, Carl and Thomas covered this a little while ago in a segment. But there's actually an update of now we have an OnlyFans. We now have an instance of an OnlyFans model actually murdering her boyfriend. Courtney Clenny, 26, was detained at a rehab center in Hawaii's Big Island, and she was treated for alcohol issues and PTSD. I wonder why. Oh, she's been charged with second-degree murder on the April 3rd death of her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, 27, at the home they shared in Miami, Florida. Clenny insisted she stabbed Obumseli in self-defense after he grabbed her by the throat. The model called the police at 5:57 to report the stabbing, and in the background of the call, he could be saying, "I'm so sorry, baby." On that call, the victim can be heard in the background repeatedly saying he's dying and can no longer feel his arms. So that's a bit harrowing. State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle said the violent and toxic 2-year relationship of Obumbeli and Clenny did not have to end in tragedy, with Christian's murder as a victim of domestic violence. Now that's interesting, because she's alleging that it was him beating her, but if we look at this video here, we don't have to play it with any of the sound, but she's just doing an Amber Heard and beating the hell out of him in a lift.
You can just see that she's just so entitled, like she's fit, right? So she's always been able to do that, and you can see he's not even hitting her back.
No.
And she murdered this. I feel sorry for that guy, because the dilemma was, she was really fit. And I could deal with this little slaps.
I can fix her.
Yeah, he thought I can deal with the slaps, but then one day she went too far.
Yeah. No man should have to go through this.
Yeah, he was genuinely imagine that was the other way around.
Yeah. It would be terrible. Yeah,
she would have been in prison.
There was a video of a football player who did that to his girlfriend in an elevator, and immediately out of the NFL. We're just slightly strapped for time. So, according to the Miami Herald, police visited the couple on at least 4 occasions for domestic abuse calls, and noted that, or domestic calls, not abuse, and noted that Obumseli was never taken into custody or charged. But at the time of arrest, Clenny had not been taken into custody, despite having an open warrant in 2015 for public intoxication from California, and she was due in court in Texas in 2020 on a DUI charge. We're not going to show the images here, but there's a TMZ article that show her half topless and smothered in his blood, and then days later she was drinking in bars with her dad, so didn't seem all that remorseless. Florida prosecutors, after that video came out, said Clenny beating her boyfriend in an elevator, the video was irrelevant and likely inadmissible. Had nothing to do with the fact that she then stabbed him a little while later. So
no history of abuse.
No, exactly. Yeah, totally random act of violence, and that's
no self-defense.
She doesn't look all that pretty anymore, being utterly contemptible kind of person. But I might suggest that no matter what was going on behind closed doors, I don't think the sexual jealousy of selling out your girlfriend for half decent clothes and nice house and that would have worn all that well on his psyche, and it clearly didn't do well for her dignity either. So that's just the kind of thing you don't want to introduce to a relationship.
That's a different 100%. I forgot that she was even an OnlyFans model, so that she was a crazy woman.
Yeah, well, all the attractive ones are, but to this level, Don't let her near the cutlery drawer, fellas. So I thought I'd conclude with probably the best argument against OnlyFans, and that's from Louise Perry's case against the sexual revolution. Quote, "There is no good reason to use porn. Giving it up costs the consumer nothing. It is easier by far than giving up factory-farmed meat or products made by sweatshop labour because, although we all need to eat and clothe ourselves, not a single one of you needs to watch porn ever again. The sexual liberation narrative tells you to keep going. I'm telling you, you have an obligation to stop. And if you'd like to hear more about Louise Perry's book, you can tune in at time of recording 3:30 tomorrow on Friday, or go and subscribe to the website to watch Harry and I discuss the case against the sexual revolution, where we'll be discussing things like OnlyFans and why they're a scourge on society. But to wrap it up, I suppose, there's no really good reason to ever let yourself go on there or to use it, because it ends up with crazy, broken people making far more money than they deserve, and, well, it seems there's some deadly consequences."
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, this one on Edward the Confessor. You want to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.